The Giza Plateau rises from the desert. The Colosseum stands against the Roman sky. The Great Wall snakes over mountain ridges. The Parthenon dominates the Athenian height. These are not just stone and mortar, they are miracles of logistics. But look closer. Who actually paid for these impossible megaprojects? The price tags are staggering, even by modern standards. In ancient Egypt, the answer was not found in gold, but in the harvest. When the Nile flooded, the fields became unreachable, and the labor force was freed. The pharaoh acted as the architect of a massive state machine. Grain became the currency of the realm. Farmers paid their taxes in sacks of wheat, filling state silos to the brim. This surplus food was then redistributed as rations to the builders. Every block of stone hoisted into place was bought with bread. It was a transformation of raw agricultural output into eternal architecture, turning the cycles of the river into the foundations of a civilization that would outlast its creators by thousands of years. The Roman Colosseum rose from the ashes of a palace and the spoils of a war. Vespasian did not look to the harvest, he looked to the treasury of the temple in Jerusalem. Gold and silver flowed from the conquered east into the heart of Rome, acting as the fuel for an architectural engine. Skilled contractors were hired, stone was cut, and the arena took shape. It was capital generated by the sword. Across the horizon, the Persian Empire perfected a different mechanism. Darius I looked at his 20 provinces and saw a ledger. He implemented a standardized tax system, a machine designed to extract silver talents with cold precision. Every year, the silver moved along the arteries of the empire. This liquid wealth did not just sit in a vault, it built the Royal Road. 1,600 miles of stone, courier stations, and supply lines linked the furthest corners of the domain. It was a network that paid for itself by accelerating trade, which in turn yielded more taxes. From the plundered gold of Rome to the calculated silver of Persia, the lesson remained absolute. Whether through conquest or administration, the state had mastered the art of turning imperial reach into physical reality. In China, the scale of construction demanded more than silver. It required the mobilization of a nation. The Great Wall expanded through a rigid system of human capital investment. Every household across the vast territory was mandated to provide one male member for either construction or military service. It was a tax paid in sweat and time, directed by a centralized bureaucracy that turned millions of individual lives into a singular, defensive barrier. The labor was the currency, and the state was the sole investor. Then, the focus shifts to Athens. The Parthenon tells a story of political leverage rather than simple labor. Athens commanded the Delian League, a coalition of allies bound by the threat of Persian invasion. Every city-state paid an annual tribute, money intended for collective defense. Pericles saw the surplus in that treasury and made a choice. He diverted the funds to the Acropolis. What began as military protection money became the marble pillars of a cultural monument. It was a masterpiece of political accounting, transforming the fear of external enemies into the architectural dominance of a single city. From the forced labor of the East to the leveraged tribute of the Mediterranean, the blueprint for greatness was clear. Control the resources, command the people, and reshape the world to reflect the power of the state. Behind every rising pillar and finished monument sat an army of scribes. Every gallon of water and every block of marble hauled from the quarries. These ledgers were the true foundations of the ancient world. They tracked the movement of supplies across thousands of miles, ensuring that 10,000 men could eat while they built in the desert heat. But the math went deeper. States began to innovate, creating early systems of credit and debt to bridge the gap between resources and ambition. They borrowed against future harvests and leveraged the promise of stability to initiate projects that should have been impossible. This was the birth of the complex economy. A master builder did not just command stone, he commanded time and probability. By standardizing the flow of materials and formalizing the obligations of the populace, these civilizations stretched their reach beyond the limits of their own physical borders. They transformed the abstract concept of debt into the tangible reality of rock and mortar, proving that the most powerful tool in the architect's inventory was not the chisel, but the ledger. Today, the tools have evolved, but the mechanism remains unchanged. We look at the space station orbiting above and see the same logic that raised the pyramids. It is not just engineering, it is the absolute power to organize, to tax, and to command the labor of a nation toward a singular goal. The ledger has been replaced by digital algorithms and the grain silos by global markets, yet the fundamental requirement persists: the ability to mobilize resources on a massive scale. We have not abandoned the past, we have simply scaled it. Whether carving stone in the Nile Valley or launching steel into the void, we are executing the same blueprint. The structures change, but the ambition remains constant. It is the defining signature of our history. We are a species that builds because we must, transforming our collective imagination into physical reality, project by project, century after century. Every monument, every machine, and every bridge is a testament to the same ancient drive. We are still building, still organizing, and still reaching. The blueprint is not found in the dust of history, but in the enduring, relentless nature of our own collective ambition.